Hello, my name's Toby Thompson. I'm with Kim Turnbull James, Professor of Executive Learning here at Cranfield. Kim, we're talking about supervision and the Executive Doctorate.
Yes.
I've heard that we have 3 supervisors per individual. Seems a little bit overkill and scary for the individuals. What's the benefit of having 3?
Right. It's not intended to be scary. In fact, I think people really like the supervision panels and get a lot out of them. The reason we have 3 is because the Executive Doctorate, their projects start with the business issue, the problem that they're really interested in coming to us to explore. And unfortunately, business problems don't fit into neat categories like marketing, HR, leadership. They tend to cross boundaries. So the idea on the Executive Doctorate of having a multi-person panel is so that we can cover different approaches, different disciplines, different functions, so that they've got a good supervision for their problem. And that's quite different from the PhD, which tends to be rooted much more in the interests of the faculty, starting with the literature. So it's a different process, and that's why we have a 3-person panel.
So explain a typical panel. Is there such a thing as a typical panel?
A typical panel, if I describe the process, it's very straightforward. The student comes in, they make a short presentation on the work that they've been doing, and then the panel asks them questions and we enter into a discussion. That sounds very, very flat. It's actually a really interesting discussion because, of course, the faculty don't agree with each other. They've got different perspectives, and that's part of what we're trying to generate, that kind of level of discussion and debate. The student has to defend their work, and I think they find that they get some really testing questions. And I think they enjoy that process because it helps them to think through what they really want to do and why they want to do it. So, no, they're good, fun discussions. And some real work gets done in that process.
So in between panels, there's presumably a fallow period where they don't have contact with you?
Well, no, that's not really the case. There's a lead supervisor, so the 3 people on the panel are differentiated, and the lead supervisor is the person that the student would have constant contact with. And they would be the person that they would submit drafts of work or phone up and say, I'm really stuck, or give me some ideas. And so those contacts go on all the time. And in fact, the lead supervisor would be the person who would look at the main drafts of work that goes to those panel meetings for discussion. So we're not leaving people high and dry just to come to us with a piece of work that they haven't really had looked at before they get to that discussion. It's something that's already gone through a number of different stages, and the lead supervisor is the person that they would contact.
Sounds like quite a special relationship. How would you describe that relationship? If someone's coming new to this, what can they expect?
Well, I think that it's quite unique, really, because I think as a member of faculty, you get drawn into your students' world as much as they have to cross over into ours.
So you learn from them as much as they learn from you?
Oh, we learn a lot from them. And I think we learn to see things in different ways, which is why we actually enjoy this process as well. So yes, I think it's a mutual exploration of 2 different worlds and how they come together.
So in terms of Andy, how did it work with him?
Well, of course, you know that his business is the brewing industry, and so everybody's got a personal view about what a great pub, a great beer is, and so on. But I think what happened in his panel meetings was that he had very good things to say, very interesting things to say, and it became a joke that when he started presenting, we got so interested in everything, we always wanted to start asking questions immediately. So would we ever get to the end of the presentation before we could get into the discussion? Yeah, I think some very good discussions, because with Moira Clark, who was his lead supervisor, looking at it from a marketing perspective, I'm a psychologist, I think you'd begin to see how you can bring together different academic disciplines and apply them to some really pragmatic and important real-life problems.
So Andy would have drafts of papers that he wants your comments on, and you would provide comments and feedback?
Yes, we would always provide comments on the written work that's submitted for the panel meetings, and these would have been some work that the supervisor would have had a look at before. So we provide comments on that, and usually the students provide a little short PowerPoint presentation that highlights the main things and asks some of the questions that they want to ask of us. Because we have to remember that they come to panel meetings with questions to ask just as much as we want to ask them questions.
And post-Cranfield, post-Exec Doc, can they expect any continuation of contact and writing and publications?
Yes, indeed. I think quite a few people who've finished the Exec Doc have written papers with faculty. They have funded research because they get really interested. Their companies have funded research. They get really interested in the way we work here. I think there's been a number of people who've come and been an associate at Cranfield and have joined in either some of the teaching. So we've got people who've now come as consultants and work with our customised executive development people because they've got drawn into the work of Cranfield. So there's lots of different ways in which people continue their contact. So yes, they don't leave. We don't want them to.
Kim, thank you very much indeed.